Ellis the shot. Ellis the goal. The Rangers score first. Rangers into the zone. Chance. They score. Vermeulen the shot. Mercer the rebound. The fans come to their feet. Pridham into the zone. Scores! Andonovski the block. Andonovski the clear. Here come the Rangers. Humphreys with Pridham. 2-on-1 over the line. Pridham scores! To the faraway town. That's a breakaway for Luke Ellis. Ellis in alone. Ellis hit the goalpost. He hit the goalpost. The Rangers come over the line. Lamb to Ellis. Ellis the shot. Costanzo the save. Rebound. Oh my gosh. Jacob Zoo hits Costanzo in the mask. Costanzo uses his head. Jacob Zoo almost had his first. Humphreys with Pridham over the line. 2-on-1. Humphreys takes the shot. He scores. The entire top line has got one, and the Rangers have three. Calling to the faraway town. Now it's Luke Ellis. He's coming up ice for Kitchener. Finds Pridham. Pridham over the line. Shot off the wing. He scores. Luke Ellis gives the Rangers their first lead of the series. Right back in front. Protasa backhand and action. Jackson Parsons. The glove save. Now Tanner Lamb steals the puck at center ice, comes into the zone. The defense back up. It's loose in front. They score. Luke Ellis has his second of the game. The overtime hero. And we're going to London. London calling to the faraway towns. Now war is declared and battle come down. London calling to the underworld. Come out of the cupboard, you boys and girls. London calling. Now don't look to us. Phony Beatlemania is bitten the dust. London calling. Oh, yes. Our Kitchener Rangers will clash with the Knights in London tonight. Game day, baby. Playoff game day. And as much as I want to be there and get set and broadcast a hockey game, we have a terrific show coming up for you this morning. I promise you that. And I will be a little more subdued on the show today than what you just heard from those hockey games that the Rangers played against the Windsor Spitfires. I mean, I won't promise, because sometimes, you know, you might say something or I might read something and I'm just going to get all fired up, all kinds of fired up. But we're going to try to keep it between the lines on the show today, okay? Good Friday morning. It is April the 25th, also known as the day that the most important person on this planet celebrates her birthday. Most important to me. She should be the most important to you, too. But nonetheless, it is a birthday for my beloved. And lucky her, she gets to be rid of me for the entire day. I work, and then I work, and she just gets to have a birthday. I should bring her home a bottle of wine or something like that, I think. Not only do we have a Kitchener Rangers playoff game day today, but we got a little bit of this last night.
Kept in by Riley, back at the goal center, back, they score! Austin Matthews set up adroitly there by Marner. The Leafs have the lead for the first time in the game.
Oh, they did. And then they won it in overtime. A little AM Austin Matthews on AM radio in the AM. We call it AM on AM in the AM. And we do it after almost every Leafs game because that guy just scores so ding-dang much. The Leafs lead their series over Ottawa 3-0. I couldn't even go into the studio of my colleagues and friends at Country 106.7 this morning. We share our space here at the Boardwalk with Chime 96.7, Brady and Tara. Lovely people. Country 106.7, Robin and PJ. One of them's lovely. One of them put a sign on the door this morning that said, "No Leafs fans allowed." Sore loser is that PJ guy. You can see the picture for yourself
on my Instagram account. If you're not following there, please feel free to do so at Farwell_WR. He's always been a Sens fan. I've always felt sorry for him for that. But then again, I'm a Leafs fan. But hope springs eternal, baby, and we're up 3-0.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9.
All right, let's get to your Farwell Show 5 for this Friday morning. Number 1, a 15-year-old has been arrested as part of what police are calling a targeted shooting in Waterloo this morning. Investigators responded to reports of shots fired around 3:30 a.m. in the University and Weber area. No injuries are reported. A 19-year-old is the other suspect arrested. Number 2, Toyota has no plans to change its production output of RAV4s in Cambridge and Woodstock. According to a letter to employees obtained by the Waterloo Region Record, Toyota Motor Manufacturing Canada says local production will remain the same even if the company builds the RAV4 in Kentucky. A Reuters report last week suggested Toyota was planning to ramp up production in Kentucky to avoid U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs. Toyota sells more than 550,000 RAV4s in North America every year. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, Canadians will choose their next government in just 3 days. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre campaigning in Saskatoon, then holding a rally in BC. Liberal leader Mark Carney has a busy day in Ontario, and he's later set to attend a virtual Assembly of First Nations forum. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh also campaigning in Ontario today. Advance voting saw record turnout, more than 7 million voters ahead of Monday's general election. That's something we'll talk about during the Friday 4 roundtable this morning between 11 and noon. Number 4 on your Farwell Show 5 today. 2 people have been found guilty of first-degree murder in the fatal shooting of an OPP officer back in 2022. Constable Greg Pershala was shot on December the 27th of 2022 while responding to a vehicle in a ditch west of Hagersville, not far from Brantford. Randall McKenzie and Brandy Stewart Sperry were each charged with first-degree murder in the 28-year-old officer's death. Both pleaded not guilty, but a jury handed down the guilty verdict late yesterday after deliberating for about 6 hours. And number 5, it's the final day for the Catholic faithful to pay their respects to Pope Francis in the Vatican's St. Peter's Basilica. His coffin will be sealed this evening in preparation for his funeral tomorrow. Governor General Mary Simon will lead a senior delegation to represent Canada at the funeral. Francis died at age 88 after suffering a stroke and heart failure. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Friday morning. We'll take a break. When we come back, 3 days, as I just mentioned, from the federal election. Are you a decided voter at this point? Undecided? Did you cast a ballot already? Have you made up your mind ahead of Monday's election? We'll take our own little poll here on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. Give me a call. Let me know. Decided? Undecided? You're just going to walk into the polling station and mark your X with whatever idea pops into your head at that time? This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
A lady that I know just came from Colombia. She smiled because I did not understand. She held out some marijuana, She said it was the best in all the land. And I said, no, I don't smoke it no more. I'm tired of waking up on the floor.
I see what you did there, Mr. Star. Did I remind you that this is, it's Friday. I said that already, but that makes it an all-request Friday here on the program. If there's a song that you would like to hear a bit of, why don't you just ask us? Because we're going to play it for you. That's how all Request Fridays work. So when you give us a call at 519-570-2545 to talk about the issues of the day, or star 570 or 1-800-570-5715, you can talk about the issues of the day, or you can just let Jen on the other side of the glass know what song you would like to hear. Just call her and tell her that, and we'll get one on for you fit in as many as we can before the end of the show today. Ringo Starr's No No song for Mark on your All Request Friday this morning. It's the final weekday before the federal election. We vote on Monday, unless you were one of the 7 million plus who have voted already. I'm wondering if you're decided, if you were one of those advanced voters, I guess you were, heading into the final weekend. Are you in that undecided voter category? Is your vote still up for grabs? I have to admit, I can't remember the last time I've had such a difficult time making a decision. I almost always go directly to and vote for the person in my riding that I think is going to do the best job. I pay far less attention to the parties and their leaders. But in this case, when it seems so clearly a two-horse race and we're getting similar visions from blue and red, I'm having a whale of a time. I will figure this out by the time I vote on Monday. But what about you? Decided? Undecided? Christine sends an email to Mike at 570news.com. Says, I was an advanced voter and I voted green. You know, Green Party leader Elizabeth May might not even win her own seat in this election. Let's go to the phones. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Well, go Rangers, go.
Go Rangers, go. I'm voting for blue there for sure.
Oh, that's for sure. I'm very happy about it. And thank you for the great job that you do broadcasting it. And let me tell you something. Imagine this. Imagine if I take my family to a restaurant that is advertising that I'm giving you the best deal, I'm giving you the best service, and I'm going to give you the best food. First time I take my family, we get food poison. Okay, we're going to give it another chance. Second time, same thing. Price is too high. We get food poison. We go the third time. Now, should I take my family for the fourth time? Maybe not. That's what happened to me. So for 3 times, I just kept saying, it's okay. Maybe next time I'll give him one more chance. I'll give him one more chance. But at this time, Mike, I'm not. So I already voted at 9 a.m. on Friday morning, the first moment that the polls opened. I was there. And I'm one of those 7 million people that voted on the advance poll. And, that's the thing. We need a change. That's why there is a big change in the number of people who voted in the advance poll. So we're seeing change. How come 7 million people didn't vote on the previous advance poll? So that means people want change. That's why everything changed. So I hope that change happens because it's about time to try another party that's at least let's see what they're going to do. I'm not going to say they're going to do what they promised, but after 3 times failure for me, I have to change the party.
All right, Kevin, I appreciate the call. So you were one of the advanced voters because your mind was made up. You're voting for a change. And it is a compelling argument. I think you have to admit we're getting such similar policy proposals from both Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre. And Mark Carney kind of mowed some of Pierre Poilievre's grass, right? In terms of, well, there goes the consumer carbon tax, and we're doing this and we're doing that. Very similar. But as Kevin points out, and as I acknowledge, I think it's a compelling argument. How many times do you keep going back to the same trough expecting to get a different drink of water? I don't know. I'm worried on both sides, though. When I look at these platforms, and this is one of the things that I'm struggling with, red ink, awash in red ink for years to come. Both the Conservatives and the Liberals. I'm not keen on it. I'm really not. We'll take a break, come back with more of your calls on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Did you take in the show last night at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium? That's why both Doug and Walter said, let's have some BTO on All Request Friday and make sure it's taking care of business because that's what we think the Rangers are going to do as they open the Western Conference Final against the London Knights tonight. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Walter. BTO by request on this All-Request Friday, the final weekday before Election Day on Monday. Headed into this weekend, have you made up your mind as to who it is that will get your vote? Clinton sends an email to Mike at 570news.com. I was one of those 7 million plus advanced voters, and I voted blue, just like Kevin said earlier. Let's go back to the phones. Adam, good morning.
Hi. I already voted. I was going to vote for the Conservatives, but, I mean, because I can't really afford anything under the Liberal government anymore the past 9 years, I guess. Like, I'm 30 with 3 kids, and I don't think I'll ever be able to afford a house. But when I was 20, in my 20s, and under the Harper government, like, I mean, I was younger and maybe a bit naive, but I felt like eventually I would own a house. But under the past 9 years, I don't think that's a possibility. But I eventually, I actually voted for the PPC as kind of like a protest vote. I'm in Kitchener-Conestoga, so I don't have the opportunity to vote for the Green Party, and the NDP is just, I don't think that's like even like a real party at this point. So I didn't really have an option, and the PPC is, you know, more conservative than the Conservatives. So they're not going to win, so it's kind of a pointless vote. But I just kind of voted for them as like a protest to the other two main parties.
All right, Adam, I appreciate that call. Registering one's frustration by placing the protest vote with the PPC. 30, 3 kids, doesn't see any prospect of owning a home. That has got to be I know we talk about Trump and tariffs and opening up Canada's economy, which we must do. And maybe those two things can work hand in hand, right? Opening up interprovincial trade here in this country, injecting some enthusiasm and energy into our economy, and by that token, making life more affordable for people like Adam. I worry about people Adam's age. I do. And I don't mean to be doom and gloom, Adam. Thanks for participating in the show today. And hopefully that Canadian dream of owning your home for your growing family can be realized at some point. Okay, we're going to get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then, is the region rushing things when it comes to clearing that encampment at Weber and Victoria? Let's talk about it on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. As you no doubt know, because it has been well covered here on 570 News Radio, our regional council passing by a vote of 13-1 a site-specific bylaw that could, and I will emphasize the could here, lead to the clearance of the encampment at Weber and Victoria by the end of December. The region says that land must be cleared by the end of this year so that it can be ready for March of next year to be used as a staging area for Metrolinx as construction begins on our long-awaited transit hub. Is this something, though, this new site-specific bylaw, that will even stand up when tested in court? Because a 2023 ruling by Ontario's Superior Court said removing residents from that encampment, if they don't have another place to go, is a violation of their charter rights. Ashley Schiedema is the Executive Director of Waterloo Region Community Legal Services and joins us to talk about it. Ashley, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
What do you make of the region's decision here?
I've said it when I delegated and we issued a press release, but I'm really disappointed with this decision. I'm really disappointed that the region is taking this sort of sneaky, backhanded approach to issuing a bylaw, and it's a way to really get around the existing court order. So I'm really not impressed.
What makes it sneaky and backhanded?
Well, the order, which exists and relates to this property, set out a way that the region could go back to Justice Valente. They were invited specifically to apply again to Justice Valente if they wanted to have his order quashed. And so that's not what they're doing. Instead, they're proposing a new bylaw, essentially requiring us to relitigate the issue under a new bylaw. And this new bylaw specifically sets out that no new people are allowed to set up tents there. So that in and of itself may violate the existing order if they're turning people away from setting up shop there. And it's sneaky. It's like an underhanded way to get around the court order and not through the proper channels.
Are you and Waterloo Region Community Legal Services prepared to litigate this again?
We are. We've been going to the encampment, seeing who's interested in retaining our services. We'll do whatever we can to protect folks that are living there, because the reality is that things have only gotten worse in our community when it comes to people living unsheltered. The numbers keep going up, and there's nowhere for people to go. So the situation it's really no different than in 2022 when we were before the court on the same issue.
I think what you just touched on there, Ashley, is so important in this conversation, that things have actually only gotten worse. The latest point in time count of our homeless community is almost doubled, basically, since the count that we had when this encampment first appeared. So what can we do? I mean, if the region needs land in order to build a transit hub which serves the public good, are there other options here? Is there anything that can be done that is acceptable to both sides in this situation?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's part of the frustration is that what I see needing is space where people can continue to tent. It's essential. Like this encampment hasn't gone away since 2022 because people need it. And so what the region needs to do is find a piece of land and maybe work with the city of Kitchener to find a space where people can tent, where the same legal protections exist and the same site services are being offered, like porta potties and garbage pickup, et cetera. Because it's not a problem that's going to go away. And it like we said, it's only getting worse. And so that to me is the answer. We need another place where people can continue to have the same services that exist at 100 Vic, because it's essential.
Why must it be an area where people can tent? The region has said that there are more shelter spaces available. It's putting up another $800,000 plus when this bylaw comes into effect to help relocate people. Why is it essential that tenting must be allowed somewhere?
It's because there's still not enough spaces. So even though they say they're adding to the amount of indoor shelter spaces that exist, that number is constantly fluctuating. We know that the Schwaben Club shelter just closed and we lost 100 spaces there. So this isn't a number that even meets anywhere near the demand of people that are living unsheltered. Even though they are making efforts to grow that number, it will never be enough. And this $800,000 that's been offered, most of that, about 50% of that money, is dedicated towards motels. And now, of course, motels are a good option for some. They don't work for everyone, but it's a good option for folks that are, allowed to go there and don't have any restrictions on going to a motel. But it's a short-term solution. It's really a Band-Aid because that funding will run out. We understand that a motel room runs for about $100 a night. So if you think about all the people that are at the encampment, and the region thinks there's about 35, I think the number is much higher than that. We're only going to buy people space temporarily in motels, and that funding will run out. And then where do they go? Or they're right back in the exact same situation they were in before. So it's just really a temporary solution so that they can clear the site. They're not thinking long-term. They're not thinking in a human rights or charter compliant way. And I think that's the part that's the most frustrating, because it seems like no lessons have been learned since the last time we were litigating this issue.
What does the long-term vision look like, Ashley? Surely it's not just another place to tent forever and ever.
No, it's not. And every level of government seems to be turning their mind to the housing crisis. They're actually thinking about solutions. not thinking about some that I think would be really valuable, like rent control and vacancy control, which are really essential in our community. But they are turning their mind to longer-term housing solutions, but we're not getting there anytime soon. And so we are going to be in a housing crisis for a long period of time where there's going to be more people that are unsheltered than there are spaces for them to go. And the reality is just that there will be people tenting. So how do we accommodate that in a way that's not criminalizing them, that's not pushing them into forests and making spaces unsafe for them? It's a reality that we need to deal with. And I think burying our head in the sand and trying to criminalize folks it's not an answer.
Through your work, Ashley, and your conversations with these folks who are at this encampment and elsewhere, do you have any insights as to how we ended up here? I mean, from a high level, I look at even LRT as one example because of all the development along that light rail corridor. We had some lower income housing that disappeared and has been rebuilt as high-priced condominiums, just as one example. So gentrification, I think, had to play some part, but surely there's more to it than this.
It's really the taking away the controls around rent control and all the loopholes that exist in the Residential Tenancies Act around rent evictions. Like the privatization of housing has just made it, there's no affordable housing that exists for people, even in the private market. It's impossible to find. And then you pair that with the fact that rates of Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support Program benefits have remained stagnant. So people are not getting shelter allowances that they need in order to find a place to live. And many of the folks that are living are unsheltered are people who have a disability in some way or another. And so we're seeing people who are just not receiving the supports they need in order to be able to find an affordable place to live. And it's I'm looking to the province because there's a lot of legislation and policy decisions that have been made that have really, really impacted people living in poverty. And again, I'll keep saying, rent control, vacancy control, these are things that are essential for people that are living low income so that they can have housing that is affordable and that keeps them housed.
I'm absolutely looking to the province as well. Just before I let you go, have you given any thought to or made any suggestions to the region as to where this other parcel of land to allow tenting might exist?
So I haven't. And I mean, I think that is in their court. The ball is in their court now to come up with some options because I can look around and make suggestions in the community, but they really know what land they own. They know what land the city owns. They know what future plans they have for all those properties. So it's up to them to make this suggestion. And I think it needs to be something that is accessible to services. And I mean, I'm not talking about a space like Herbs Road. I'm not talking about a place where they're offering tiny homes or shelter, things like that. I'm talking literally just about a piece of land where people can set up tents, exactly like we have at 100 Vic. And I hope that they're considering something like this because it is the solution to not having to litigate this again.
Ashley, I really appreciate your time on the show this morning. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Ashley Scheidema is the Executive Director at Waterloo Region Community Legal Services. There's a solution here that will prevent us from having to litigate this again in court. Just offer the folks at Weber and Victoria another piece of publicly owned land where they can tent. You may recall that Peter sent me an email yesterday and said the region has about 150 acres in Wilmot Township that it's recently purchased. There you go. As an example, I think Peter was being tongue-in-cheek, but it's an idea. What do you think? To clear Weber and Victoria, do we find another piece of public land for people to tent on? Let me know your thoughts on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
We've been going to the encampment, seeing who's interested in retaining our services. We'll do whatever we can to protect folks that are living there because the reality is that things have only gotten worse in our community when it comes to people living unsheltered. The numbers keep going up and there's nowhere for people to go. So the situation is really no different than in 2022 when we were before the court on the same issue.
Ashley Scheidema is the Executive Director of Waterloo Regional Community Legal Services. And she joins us this morning to talk about what she describes as the sneaky, underhanded way the region is trying to circumvent a court ruling and clear the encampment at Weber and Victoria. Look, we need to do something about this. We do. It's not a sustainable solution for the community or for the micro community living at that encampment. So by the community, I mean all of us here in the region of Waterloo. I've long felt for the businesses adjacent and the folks that drive those very busy streets, both Weber and Victoria, because there have been instances of people wandering out into traffic. It's a very dangerous situation, or has been. I haven't seen that happen a lot lately, but certainly early on. Bottom line is, it's not sustainable. Something needs to be done here. And it sounds as though what the region would like to do is direct these people into motels, shelter. But Ashley says what we need is to recognize the fact that people will tent and continue to tent, and we must find that place for them to continue tenting. What do you think? 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. I was thinking of regionally owned lands during that commercial break. I mean, 150 Frederick Street, but there's nothing there where you can certainly pitch a tent. It's all concrete and asphalt that I can't think of a green space there. What about the bus terminal, the former bus terminal down on Charles Street? I believe the region owns that building right now. Again, that's not tenting. No place to tent there. I know we have some Region of Waterloo library branches out in the townships. Maybe there's another possibility. Again, just trying to think of some regionally owned lands here. And as Peter pointed out via email to Mike at 570news.com, we could use about 150 acres that the region has recently purchased in Wilmot Township. 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. Andre, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Kudos to what you do, because I was all pumped up for tonight, and this is a shot in the stomach. Like, come on for your coming on. And this has been going on for too long. And I agree with Ashley. You can't just put them in a place and then take them out of there. And they need stability. I have the solution, but like the people been talking about the Victoria, it's just an umbrella or a light showing who's going to pay.
What's the solution? You have the solution. What is it? I want to hear it. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
We need the money from the federal, from the government, from whoever it is. This is a big problem.
And do what with it? What do we do with the money if we get it? If
I had the money and I was in charge, I guarantee you, everybody, and they would all be saved. It's a transitional house that has different layers, different staff, and they have to be safe for themselves and for the society. And right now, like we said, Mike, the churches, they can lay their big tent there. They can go inside, have a bathroom, you know what I mean? We have lots of space there for now. That's temporary. But the long-term solution is you can't just put them in a hotel because, like, come on, they have problems. They're some are junkies, some are mental, you know what I mean? They need to be taken care of, because if not, I know a lot of people that are wandering around the streets, and it's not safe.
Yeah, and listen, Andre, I don't hate the idea of transitional housing, the way you describe it. So let's create the building that has various levels. Think about what we started with shelter care through the House of Friendship, right? When the pandemic began, shelter care moved into a hotel in Kitchener, and on different floors you had access to different services, the dental, the medical, the whatever. I think they used 5 floors. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it sounds like Andre is referring to here. And he's also absolutely right. Stability is what these folks need. I have long been a proponent of the motel idea, although I recognize what Ashley is saying and that it's not a long-term solution because we're only funding it to a certain level. I will say again, and I still think this is a possibility at least, expropriate the motels so that the region owns them and then turn them into the kind of housing that Andre talks about, because you'll have your room with a washroom and a locked door, and then supports are provided on site. The biggest problem with that is it ain't cheap, because you're buying up for I don't know how many millions of dollars all of the motels that you need, and then you need to staff it with the people experienced enough to support those who are living there? Because we know it's about more than just a roof over your head. It starts with the roof over your head. And then what kind of support are you getting for your addiction, your mental health problem, whatever, the employment, you name it. But I think it's possible. I'm sorry. It ain't on the region, the local government, to pay that freight. This is where the province has got to come through. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, speaking of finding places for things, we're looking at finding places for people who are currently calling the corner of Weber and Victoria in Kitchener home. But things, how about those statues of prime ministers in Wilmot Township? It's been the source of a great deal of controversy over the years, but a public engagement process has reached its conclusion, and maybe, just maybe, there is a place for those statues. We'll talk about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. Stay with us on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. A lot of us call it Teenage Wasteland. The Who calls it Baba O'Reilly. And Wendy requested it on this All Request Friday here on the program. Excellent taste in music, Ms. Wendy. Thanks for participating in the All Request Friday fun here on the show. It's been anything but fun, I would say, for Wilmot Township councils, plural, because the previous and now the current folks in Wilmot Township, the Prime Minister's path. I could give you the history lesson. I'll never forget the conversation with a staff member at the City of Kitchener, a very excited conversation about the possibility for Canada's sesquicentennial, if I've got that right, and the Prime Minister's statues that were going to be spread throughout Victoria Park. That's how far back this goes. And ultimately, the statues ended up outside Castle Kilbride in Wilmot Township, and then controversy erupted. They were removed. Consultation has been undertaken in the township, and a report will be coming in the next couple of weeks to Wilmot Township Council. The mayor in Wilmot Township, Natasha Salonen, makes time for our show this morning. Mayor Salonen, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for making time to talk about this. It's been a long story, and it continues to unravel. What are we learning from the public engagement and what's contained in that report?
Yeah, so at this point in the process, as you said, this has been going on for quite a long time. But where my council and I kind of come into the chapter is back last year, we had directed staff to hire a consultant. Laura Consulting was the successful applicant out of our RFP process. They were tasked with creating a 12-person working group made of residents from Wilmot Township, all with varying opinions on the Prime Minister's Path project. And then that group had to take all of the public engagement that's happened over the last 7 months, ranging from community gatherings to tea circles, which are kind of an informal opportunity for residents to come out and discuss and engage, as well as emails, social media, and surveys. Of course, you can't forget about those in public engagement. To take all of that information and then work as a group of 12 to try and address all of the concerns and ideas raised by the public, and then they co-created these recommendations, which are coming forward to council to consider in our way as we look how to move forward.
How do you feel about how the process has played out, Mayor Salonen?
I've been really pleased with the process. I know I've been on your show and others before we started as a council with the direction to proceed, and I know I certainly had some ideas. Our consultants didn't have the same ideas. However, what they did do was the end result that I was hoping for, and I think it's fantastic, and that was that they provided a space and an opportunity for our residents to bring forward their ideas and thoughts, which in the process of the council passed was really what we heard people were upset about. They did not feel heard or didn't feel they had an opportunity, whereas this process has been 7 months of extensive engagement, and I'm confident in that even if you as an individual did not choose to engage or feel like you had the opportunity to engage, our consultants have shown that kind of every idea and opinion on the matter has been expressed at some point. So even if you personally didn't have your voice heard, your thoughts and ideas have, I think, really been captured in this process, which I'm proud of.
The report that comes to council on May the 12th, and I'm looking at it right now, it's providing recommendations in 6 areas which provide a path to returning the statues to the township. So these statues could return in some way, shape, or form on display within the township.
That is certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
So the thing about these recommendations, it's not like at a normal council meeting when we have a report with recommendation, like a recommended motion. These instead are recommendations based off of what we tasked the working group to do. And council is going to consider them along with all other inputs that we've had on this matter. So it's not set in stone that they're coming back, but this is certainly the culmination of the working group and consulting with our community on if they were to come back, here are ways that we could bring them back in a way that's respectful of all the diverse thoughts in the community.
Would you like to see them come back, Mayor Salonen?
I think on a personal note, even before getting there, Wilmot has some realities that have happened over the many years of this ongoing problem that really need to be addressed by council. And when I talk about that, I mean the financial component. And I know that the working group did address this because it did come up in conversation of who's going to pay for it, how is this going to be funded. And at this point in time with Wilmot's financial situation, I really think that's something council's going to need to work through. We know that we don't have a lot of extra money, and to do this project right in the way that the community has communicated it will require investment. So I think that's something that I look forward to council grappling with.
Does this all get grappled with on May the 12th when the report comes to the council meeting?
Great question. So, no, the May the 12th meeting is really just for council to hear what the recommendations are and understand them, as well as for anyone in the community to come out and delegate to council on the matter if they'd like to. So it's another point in this process. Then on May 28th, our consultant is holding another community gathering where people have yet another opportunity to engage now that the recommendations have been made to council. And then, of course, at any time, you can still email the pmp@wilmot.ca email address if you don't feel comfortable coming in person or delegating. And then on our June 2nd Committee of the Whole meeting is when council really has the opportunity to start diving in and deliberating on this matter together and hopefully making some steps forward on how we're going to proceed.
We will continue watching with interest as this moves forward, however slowly, such as municipal bureaucracy. And this was absolutely a contentious issue that required great care. Mayor Salonen, thanks for joining the show this morning.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Natasha Salonen is the mayor of Wilmot Township, joins us this morning to talk about the report that council will receive in Wilmot Township on May the 12th. The Prime Minister's Path Working Group recommendations. And I can tell you, having read said report, that the recommendations show a way forward for the statues to once again be on display within the township, indoors or outdoors. And it's all about providing important context around the statues and their rather complicated history. As you heard from Mayor Salonen there, nothing is decided yet. Nothing will be decided officially on May the 12th. This is just another step forward in what has been a lengthy lengthy process. The report says this dates back to 2013 in Wilmot Township. A dozen years. That sounds like about around the time that I remember everybody getting excited, that conversation I had at Kitchener City Hall all those years ago. Look, I think if it was up to me and I could wave my magic Prime Minister's Path wand, of course the statues would be on display with the necessary context. Put the plaque beside each of the statues. Make note that the statue's presence does not necessarily mean endorsement by the township, whatever you want to do for that. And then every Prime Minister's statue can have adequate representation through the plaque that's next to it. I think that there's private money. There has been for the longest time with this. That's how it all got started. I think there's private money that could help fund it so the township wouldn't have to. That's me. I just sit here and talk to you about the things that are happening around here. And if you'd like to talk about the things happening around here, well, heck, our phone lines are always open to you on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. There is a theme that has emerged in this All Request Friday today. And by the way, if you want to curry favor with the host, just request a Rush song. But the theme that has emerged, a couple of folks earlier wanted to hear the same song, Taking Care of Business by BTO, because they think the Kitchener Rangers are doing just that, taking care of business. Brian wanted to hear Marathon by Rush because of the Rangers' playoff marathon, which, by the way, continues tonight. Rangers in London to take on the Knights. Pre-game coverage brought to you by our friends at Harris Law. Starts at 6:30 right here on 570 News Radio. Paul Fixter and I will be at Canada Life Place in London. My favorite place to be. Oh, I can't wait. I'm so ding-dang excited. Put me in the arena right now. It's like heaven. That's sarcasm. Anyway, 6:30, pregame coverage, me, Fixie, and you, as the Rangers and Knights get started in the best-of-7 Western Conference Final. Marathon by Rush, the song requested by Brian on this All Request Friday. This Friday is also the final weekday before voting day. We head into the final weekend of the election campaign. I'm wondering if your mind is made up yet. In our ongoing effort to provide you with as much information as we can, we reached out to every candidate looking for your vote in this region, and we offered them the chance to tell you more about themselves. 3 simple questions. Why are you running? What experience do you bring to the role? And what would you do for the voters in your riding should they vote for you? Here is what Mike Morris, the Green Party candidate in Kitchener Centre, had to say.
To continue bringing our concerns and our priorities to Parliament, whether that's related to addressing the housing crisis, getting timelines and accountability on two-way all-day GO train service, protecting our community from the threat of tariffs, or addressing the affordability of day-to-day life. All of this is the work I want to continue to bring to Ottawa and get results for us.
What experience do you bring to the role that you want to let people know about?
Well, on the housing crisis, for example, it was just a few months ago that our community was left off the list of funding for encampments. And, I walked over to the minister at that time and shared more with him about the reality that we are at the epicenter of the homelessness crisis. And, following advocacy to him and his team after working closely with him in the years prior, 2 months later, in February of this year, our community received $5.4 million to help build shelter space for folks living unsheltered. Or after 4 years of working and putting pressure on the federal government, we secured $6 billion for the Canada Disability Benefit in budget 2024. After hearing from folks living in poverty with disabilities in our community, that benefit will begin July 1st for folks who have the disability tax credit. It'll be up to $200 a month. It's not nearly enough. I want to go back to Ottawa to continue working to build on that alongside the work on, addressing the affordability of day-to-day life. And so I think it's about staying cooperative, working with others on our shared priorities, sharing credit for the work, and just trying to put progress on the issues ahead of scoring a political point.
What will you do for voters in Kitchener Centre if they do elect you to office on April 28th?
Well, I think, first of all, it's about being accountable to folks. And as a Green MP, I see my job first and foremost about listening to folks across our community and taking the stories, perspectives, and priorities and bringing those to Ottawa. And so if reelected, I would continue to be focused on working for our community in service of the significant priorities that we want to see progress on, whether that's related to protecting the 23,000 jobs at risk from the tariffs and staying united as a country, or whether it's related to addressing the housing crisis that's hitting us hard and ensuring that we redirect federal funds to build housing that folks can actually afford, or pushing back on the gouging, whether that's in the grocery industry or oil and gas, and bringing dollars back to build more public transit to make life more affordable and to ensure that that our community isn't lost in the shuffle in the midst of these national crises.
Mike Morris is your Green Party candidate for Kitchener Centre, and he, with our reporter Justine Fraser, answered the questions that all of our local candidates were offered to answer so you could learn more about them. Why are you running? What experience do you bring? And what will you do for voters in your riding should they send you to Ottawa as their MP? This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Get ready to rumble! Pump up the jig, yo, pump it up, yo, pump it.
Hey, guess who? Guess who requested the Jock Jam Mega Mix? Listen, if it's a song that leans a little bit towards the eccentric, you know the request came in from our buddy Kyle. It's an all request Friday. I will pass judgment. I'm sorry. I got to be me. I get to give my opinion. But we'll play it if you ask for it, and that's what Kyle did. Asked for the Jock Jam Mega Mix, and so he gets it on this all request Friday here on the program. Kind of pumps you up, though, doesn't it? Jock Jams. Kitchener Rangers hockey tonight. The playoffs continue. We're marching into May, baby. Rangers and London Knights. Doesn't it just send a little bit of a shiver down your spine? Yeah. Kitchener opens this Western Conference final, third round of the playoffs in London tonight. Paul Fixter and I will have all of the coverage for you starting at 6:30 right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers playoff hockey. That, of course, is 570 News Radio, where the Rangers go, we go. We check in with long-distance listeners. We bring you along for all the excitement, and we're going to build that excitement in the next 30 minutes. Rangers head coach Jussi Ahokas joins us for the Coaches Show, and then Paul Fixter himself is here for the other Coaches Show. That's coming up in your next 30 minutes here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. is the sound you hear when the Kitchener Rangers score a goal at the Memorial Auditorium. They don't get to play at the Memorial Auditorium tonight, though, or on Sunday, because they start this third-round playoff series, the Western Conference Final, on the road in London, where they spent most of the previous series on the road 4 times versus the Windsor Spitfires, as Kitchener came back from a 3-0 series deficit to win that second-round series in 7 games. UC Ahokas is the head coach of the Rangers, joins us for the Coaches Show. Good morning, UC.
Oh, good morning.
You have always said that the team is allowed to celebrate a win for 15 minutes and deal with a loss for 15 minutes. Then it's time to move on. After winning Game 7 in overtime, did you give them more than 15 minutes to celebrate, UC?
No, maybe 5 more.
5 more?
20. Yeah.
You're
20.
a nice guy. See, I knew you were a nice guy. You're not as hard as you think. UC, was there a point in that series where you felt like things were turning around? Your guys were going to be able to pull off this comeback?
I thought the first game, the fourth game, when our fourth line started scoring and we didn't sit in the penalty box, that's when I knew we have a chance.
Didn't sit in the penalty box. On that note, there were no penalties called. Well, there was offsetting minors, but there were no power plays in that Game 7. What did you think of the officiating in that one?
I thought that game's officiating was really good, actually. They didn't take it was both ways, and it was nothing bad. Like they didn't like the referee. The players got to play. And the players decided who's going to be better, not the referees. So I really like that refereeing in that Game 7.
I can't imagine the pressure that everyone feels going into overtime of a Game 7. What was that third period intermission like? What did you do to get those guys ready to go back out for the overtime?
No, you have to be brave. You have to have courage. Like that's why you play for. No, those are the things what you talk about it now. You got to play that in that kind of moment, so you have to hop into it and not be afraid. Like if you're brave, usually good things happen. So that's pretty much it.
You were on the bench closest to the net that the goal was scored in overtime when Luke Ellenis won it for you. What was your reaction? What did you see?
Oh, well, first of all, of course, happiness that we got the game winner, and it was good how he went to got the rebound. He drove to the net, so good things there. And then of course celebration after that. So yeah, it was a good moment for our team.
You know, when you were just talking a moment ago about being brave and meeting that moment, I was thinking about this Finnish word that I've learned a little bit about called sisu. Is that what it was?
Oh, that is. That's what it is. That's what it is. You don't stop. You keep going. You keep fighting. There's not really a translation word to it in English, but yeah, I thought our team showed that coming back from 3-0, that's for sure. Our team showed its character. So yeah.
Did you see the movie Sisu?
I haven't actually. No. I haven't actually. I was supposed to watch it, but no, I haven't yet. But I've heard it's okay. It's an okay.
This is it. I just watched it recently. The main character reminds me of you. So when the season's over, wait, you watch it. You watch it, then you say.
Oh no, I really have to watch
That's
it.
Right. That's right.
I must be a good actor there.
Okay, we have to turn our attention. You gave the guys 20 minutes, which is great. They could celebrate a big win for 20 minutes instead of just 15. But now it's time to get ready for the London Knights. How do you approach a first game in their building against a team that has so much talent?
Well, we have to manage pucks. We have to play. We've won them, but we're in our best. And
I think we just lost the head coach. I think his phone just disappeared on us. We lost the head coach. That's okay. And you know what? I wish we could hear a little bit more, but don't worry. We'll hear more from UC Ahokas at the game tonight as his Rangers take on the London Knights, Game 1 of the Western Conference Final. Listen, we have to defend well. We have to be brave. We can't be intimidated. I heard UC in another interview yesterday, and he said, we're the underdogs. The Rangers are the underdogs. They kind of, sort of were the underdogs in the series versus Windsor, too. Windsor got home ice, right? And don't even get me started with that. Less points, but they get a higher seed because they won their division. It's fine. But the Rangers are certainly underdogs against a London Knights team that has 13 or 14 NHL prospects on the roster. How do you like that? That is a pretty impressive roster. The London Knights are yet to taste defeat in these OHL playoffs. They swept the Owen Sound Attack. They swept the Erie Otters. And now they've been waiting for about a week, little over a week, for the Kitchener Rangers to start the Western Conference Final. I just see all these phones ringing. I'm wondering if that's UC calling us back. Is he trying to call us back, Jen? Because I'll wait a second if he's there. But if he's not, that's okay too. Maybe it's all the fans saying, what happened to the cell phone? Why don't we get the answer? Oh, is it? Is that UC back again? Okay. UC, I'm sorry we lost you for just a minute.
Yeah, I think in Activa, I'm Activa. We had the morning ice, so the cell service wasn't that good. So we're good. We're good now. I walked outside. So
see, it's like the character in the movie Sisu. You do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
We were talking about what you need to do against London tonight. So much talent. How do you get ready for a game like this?
No, you have to. Of course, we know their structure and how they play, but you have to defend hard. You have to be ready to challenge them, and you have to play well. Like, you have to drive the net, and you can't be on your toes. Like, you have to be going, but you have to be smart against them. You have to play a good defensive game, and then you have to stay out of the box. They have a good power play, so you don't want to give them too many opportunities.
Do you like being the underdog?
That's okay. It's been good for us the whole year. That's why nobody believed in us start of the season, so it works well. It works well, and of course, them with the 14 NHL draft picks and all that. So of course, but I think we have a chance. We have a good chance, but we have to be in our best.
We look forward to the game tonight, as we always do. UC, thank you for this morning. I'll see you at the rink tonight.
All right, thanks a lot.
UC Ahokas, the head coach of the Kitchener Rangers, who, by the way, honest to goodness, you watch the movie Sisu. It's fun. It's violent as all get out. It's 90 minutes out of your life. But trust me, you watch that movie knowing that it's based on this Finnish word that doesn't have any exact translation, and you tell me that the main character in that movie doesn't remind you of the head coach of the Kitchener Rangers. I'm not joking. The other coach is standing by. Paul Fixter, our color commentator on Kitchener Rangers broadcasts, is with us right after this quick timeout. It's the Mike Farwell Show. Game day, baby. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends. And I can't wait to get on the road again.
Oh, we can't. Paul Fixter and I can't wait to get back on the road. At least you don't have to travel too far. It's one of the beauties of working in the OHL market of Kitchener. It's an hour and a bit. It shouldn't take so damn long, though, to get to Canada Life Place. Once you get off the 401, you're into that mess of construction and poor road design in London, but that's okay. This by request. I want to bring this up. I get a lot of emails from MMACDA. Whoever the hell you are, please sign your name. Please. You seem like a lovely person, but you got to sign your name. I don't know who MMACDA is, but they requested On the Road Again by Willie Nelson because we're on the road again with the Kitchener Rangers. Paul Fixter is here, the other coach's show. Morning, Fixie.
Good morning, Mike. And listening to Coach Ahokas there, I thought the gamesmanship between these two teams had started already when the phone went silent. Didn't want to give away any state secrets.
I'll answer your question, Mike, but no, wait. The line just mysteriously dropped.
That was good. That timing was perfect.
It couldn't have worked out any better. Hey, how do you like the idea? I actually thought he would be his usual hard-ass self and say, no, I didn't give them any more than 15 minutes. But no, they got 20 to celebrate the Game 7 win versus Windsor.
Wow, a whole extra 5. What a giving person, eh? But that's been their mantra all season, and I guess it's kind of like the old saying, don't get too high, don't get too low, and he's just kept an even keel all season, and they've battled through whatever adversity they felt, and boy, none bigger than being down in a series 3-0 and not having home ice advantage in Game 7. Kudos to the staff for getting the team ready.
But that even keel you talk about, Paul, I feel as though that takes on even greater importance in the playoffs and in a situation like this. Yes, what you did was pretty incredible. Only 5 other teams had done it before you did it, coming back from 3-0 down in a series. But I'm sorry, as much as you want to celebrate that, there is a big job ahead of you now again.
Well, even bigger job than they just completed, no question about it, Mike. They're playing a much better team than the Windsor Spitfires. And UC's he's talked about, the number of draft picks and the fact that they haven't lost. In fact, they're the only team. I was reading this morning. They're the only team in the CHL playoffs to not have lost a game at this point. So it's really you want to look at it. It's like David and Goliath, and so it's a big task. But Kitchener has the best goaltender in the league. If they stay disciplined, they've got momentum on their side. There's lots of factors that go into playoffs. And let's face it, Kitchener knows very well. An 8 has beat a 1 before. A 7 has beat a 2. They've been part of that equation. Now we're only talking about a 1 and a 2. They were the best 2 teams in the league all season.
When you look back at the series just finished, UC alluded to Game 4, obviously the first game of the series that the Rangers won. But did you see a turning point? Was that it? The team had the belief that, hey, we can beat these guys, and then just rolled on from there?
Well, as we've talked about, Mike, there are a couple of things that happened. First of all, you have to get that victory, obviously, or you're out. So they got that, but it's the way they got it. The staying out of the penalty box. The waking up of Jackson Parsons to be the Jackson Parsons that we've seen all season, and shutting down the top line, and then getting production from the Rangers' top line. And the coach alluded to the line of Vermeulen, Mercer, and Arquette. They were a big reason for that victory, series victory. Sorry, their play was phenomenal. They not only did their responsibility of shutting down Protas and Greentree and Morneau, they contributed offensively as well. So, those keys all still come into play in the London series. And in fact, not only are they in play, they're elevated by 100%. They have to be dialed in, and they cannot take undisciplined penalties. This power play is much more potent than what we saw with Windsor, and we know how potent Windsor's was.
The Rangers got 5 extra minutes to celebrate their Game 7 win, and then an extra day off in between games before they play London tonight. The Knights have been resting for 8 days coming into this one tonight, Paul. Rest versus rust. Does one of the situations benefit one team more than another?
I'll take rest all day long. Like the way these guys have beaten up one another, their bodies are hurting. You see guys. Carson Campbell's a great example. He limped off how many times in Game 7. So rest is important this time of year. And they still, London would have given the guys a couple of days off, and then they would have gotten right back to practice and probably kind of do like inter-squad games and to stay focused. I'll take rest all day long.
It's going to be a Herculean task if the Rangers are to pull it off, beating the Knights 4 times out of 7 games or fewer. How does it work if the Rangers do this?
Well, Jackson Parsons has to be a key, Mike. The Rangers have to they have 3 lines and 4 defense that are doing all the scoring. Heck, they've got 2 players, Easton Cowan and Denver Barkey, that are in the top 10 in scoring, and they've only played 8 games. Kitchener doesn't have anybody in the top 20. So, the coach says about defending well, That's apparent. They have to defend hard, play well, and puck management, make good decisions with it. If you don't have anything, lose possession, gain the zone, get it out of your end. Don't spend a lot of time in your end. And we know the importance, Mike, of having the lead and not chasing. And if Kitchener can get the lead in some of these games, it changes the outlook of the game, or it changes the process of the game.
I can't wait for this. I hope the sideshows that tend to emerge when the Rangers and Knights play can stay parked, and we'll just get some really good hockey over the next week and a bit. It's also leading us into the month of May, Fixie. I can't believe this. It's been a long time since we played this long. How much of an impact is this having on your golf game, my friend?
Well, I know we have a game 4 on Wednesday, which also coincides with the opening of my course. But thanks to my buddy Rob Hoover, who sets up the tee times. You got an early time, so I can get my golf game in and then prepare for the game 4 on Wednesday.
I love it.
But Mike, I'm looking forward to this series too, because just reading some of the quotes of the London players, they're using words like hatred and strong words. So it's going to be a battle for sure, and I look forward to calling that battle.
You and me both. It's going to be a lot of fun, my friend, and we get some bonus time together for the next little bit. So I'll see you this afternoon. We'll get to the rink together, okay?
Sounds good, Mike.
Thanks, Fix. You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Paul Fixter, our color commentator on Kitchener Rangers broadcasts right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers playoff hockey. That, of course, is 570 News Radio. Fixie and I will be at Canada Life Place in London for your Harris Law pregame show starting at 6:30 this evening. Fixie always joins me on Fridays for the Other Coaches Show here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I get to share my views all day, every day. But on Friday, we invite some guests to join us on a roundtable discussion of the week's big stories so you can hear their views as well. That Friday 4 roundtable takes up the next hour of our show, and it begins right after this update from the 570 News Center. You're listening to and watching the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
The word is about, there's something evolving. Whatever may come, the world keeps revolving. They say the next big thing is here, that the revolution's near. But to me it seems quite clear that it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
I can see our guests on our Zoom call raising an eyebrow. What the hell is Farwell playing? Oh, I got a bit of a loop there. That's my fault.
It gives us that stadium sound.
It does. Hang on. I don't think that is not my fault. That is not my fault. We need to get something sorted on that side, I think, Jen. Because I shouldn't be getting the echo like that.
Just say third baseman Kelly Gruber. It'll give it the old C&E sound.
I think we got it. No, we don't have it. We need to get that echo off here. I mean, if you're hearing my echo, we can't have the echo going. All right.
Honestly, we just want to hear each other. Like, you're really not a big part of this today. This is all about us. Sorry.
It is, but and look at that.
Look at all the lead stuff happening.
You gotta love it.
Okay, so as I started before, in double time, which is twice as fast or 4 times as fast as I usually move, I have to recognize propeller heads and history repeating by request for Nathan. This is why we can't have nice things. You've heard that before, right? If you don't stop with the stupid requests, I won't play them. No, I'm kidding. And yes, there's a lot of Leaf representation on the Friday 4 roundtable today. Phil Molto has got his Leafs jersey. Carl Kiefer has got his cap and his T-shirt. Philip Mills, the hell, buddy? Like, come on.
I just think people can want better for themselves.
Wow.
Than a life as a Leafs fan.
Wow. I really hope.
I want more for you guys.
You could have at least worn a California Golden Seals jersey to give us something to reach for.
I just hope Philip Mills enjoys his final appearance on the Friday Four Roundtable. Like, enjoy yourself. Mills, the Philip, is the CEO, of course, of Habitat for Humanity Waterloo Region and noted Leafs hater. Molto, the other Philip, is an old buddy. We spent decades together in this industry. He got out while the going was still good. I'm still struggling along. And Carl Kiefer, our good friend, former regional and municipal councillor representing the city of Cambridge. Thank you all for making time this morning. Let's dive in after no further ado. A record number, more than 7 million people show up for advanced polls. Philip Mills, I'll start with you on this. What do you read into such strong numbers for advanced voting?
I think one of the things that stood out is some of the reporting had said that the biggest day was on Good Friday. And that says to me that, access is a big issue. That if you're trying to make this work, like I don't know that everybody's in this life stage, but I work, my wife works, but 3 young boys, squeezing in between trying to get them off to school and off to whatever myriad of events they've got going on, while all of those sorts of things. And while, yes, you're supposed to be able to leave work, but it's not practical all the time. And so I think that part of the advanced polling is, hey, there is a day off. It is a day where you don't have to do anything. It's an unexpected day off in some respects. It's not your weekend. It's an extra day on Good Friday. And so it made it easy for folks. To me, the takeaway is election days should be a statutory holiday. It should be closed. There should be no barrier to do this. If you made it a holiday where you weren't at work and all these other sorts of things weren't in the way, I think you would see this go up. But people don't have that option. And I think that, the part of the advanced polling is, hey, when you made it available and easy on a holiday where there was, Good Friday is one of those few days where stuff really isn't open. It's not like a holiday where some stuff is still open and a lot of stuff is closed, and we saw lots of people turn out. So to me, that, gives some indication that, we should make Election Day a statutory holiday where stuff is really closed and let people go and actually have the opportunity to vote.
I hereby declare fixed election dates every 4 years on December the 25th. But I'm with you, though. In general, I think there's something to that. Carl Kiefer, your thoughts on the millions that voted in advance?
Morning, Mike. Thanks for having me on. I'm quite pleased that there's a 25% increase in the turnout, and I agree with Philip there on the accessibility. I think that's a huge factor too. But I think what's going on too, though, is the concern, the anxiety, the fear. We have a president down south that is, shall I say, unstable. I'm being kind, but and I think people are wanting to make sure that we have someone, whoever that is, that someone is able to stand up to this president and to get back on stream.
It's certainly a big issue in this election, no question about it. Phil Molto, thoughts on the strong numbers at advanced polling?
I'm trying to stay positive on it, that people were anxious to vote and vote positively. It was a huge matter of convenience that a lot of people didn't have to work, so it did work out that way. I hope it wasn't a negative thing, like I'm going to get out and make sure and vote because I don't want that person in. I hope it was a positive thing that people wanted to vote. 2 million more people, that's a significant number of people who went out and voted early. I was in the lineup for an hour over at Mill Cortland, and it wasn't their fault. There was just so many people. The parking lot was full. So for me, I'm trying to look at the positive side, that people are voting in for people they want, whether it's a local candidate or a party or a platform, that they're voting something in, not just voting against somebody. And hopefully that this also is that people want to get out and vote early in case the day of, like has happened to Provincial, if there's a snowstorm the day before, that you don't know if people can get there. So I'm looking at the positive of this.
Anecdotally, I heard from a buddy in Quinte region, he's in Belleville, said the same thing about the hour-long wait at an advance poll. So it seems to be this was the case at many of those stations. I think they might have been a little understaffed for the people that showed up. But you just said something that's really interesting, Phil, when you talked about...
That's a first. That's a first.
No. Something intelligent would be a first. Something interesting, I can always count on you for that, buddy. But in all seriousness, voting for a party or a platform, If you are a conservative supporter or member of the Conservative Party, how concerned are you that the numbers were so strong at advanced polling before your platform, your costed platform, was released? Could that indicate that people were looking at the NDP and Liberal platforms and saying, I like what they've got to say?
Wouldn't you love to be a hacker somewhere overseas who actually look at the numbers already dropped in? But I was surprised in the provincial election, it's automatically scanned. Federally, it's just folded and put in a Dropbox. So nobody has access to those numbers as far as I know. I don't know if they've been counted and sit in a file somewhere, or if election day that gets opened. I'm not 100% sure on what the procedure is going to be with the folded ballot.
Philip Mills, do you think it indicates that people were decided early?
I don't think it does. We've talked a bit about this, with some friends and other folks. Like, maybe it just speaks to the fact that those things don't matter the way they used to, that a platform isn't what people are voting on. I think that even the idea that, a leadership changed a lot of, there was the sense that, moving from Trudeau to Carney changed things, but the local representative didn't change. So who you were actually voting for didn't change. If you are, I don't know, in Cambridge and your representative is Brian May and you didn't like Trudeau, but now you like Carney and you're going to vote for them or for him, like, he's still the same guy. That party, so like that shift around even within the parties to a certain extent doesn't always make a ton of sense. So I don't know how much platforms are moving that many voters these days. And I think the fact that nobody was quick with it and that it came out late probably speaks more to us as a voter and an electorate than it does, how many decisions were made up based on them.
Andrew Coyne made so go ahead, Carl.
Well, one of the things that I find interesting or have found interesting over the years is that, it's one thing when you want to vote for somebody to be your prime minister, but you may not necessarily like your local representative. So you're in a little bit of a dilemma there in terms of, okay, so you want the one guy to be the prime minister, but your local guy isn't with that party. That's a problem. I'm not sure we can rectify that.
Carl Kiefer. Oh, go ahead, Phil. Molto.
Oh, just one of Carl's comment there is going back to pull people out when your campaign isn't going the way you want. Like to see the Conservatives pull out Stephen Harper. It's like, not to sound negative, but like the return of Carl Brewer when nothing's working, let's pull somebody out of the back. The other parties aren't doing that yet. Like I saw Charlie Angus is retiring, but boy, is he ever going, both barrels on what's happening in politics. Like, so some people have stepped aside, remain vocal. Other people, I'm done. I'll be at the cottage.
Yeah, Charlie Angus just drops a hand grenade in the room on his way out the door. Perfect idea. Philip Molto, Philip Mills, Carl Kiefer with us on our Friday 4 roundtable this morning. We're going to stay in the vein of the federal election and the signs that have been damaged. Is this just vandalism or is it an attempt to suppress votes? We'll talk about it with our Friday 4 roundtable as we continue on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Joining us on the Friday 4 roundtable this morning, Carl Kiefer, Philip Molto, and Philip Mills. Let's continue talking about the federal election, but in a slightly different way. And I find this so interesting because here in the region of Waterloo, of course, we have a new sign bylaw that prevents election signs from being placed on public property, private property only, but still the issue of those signs being vandalized, marked up in different ways. One candidate in Cambridge says this is an attempt to suppress the vote. Carl Kiefer, you've ran in an election or two. What do you make of this?
Yeah, as you know, Mike, I have run in a few elections, and this seems to be an ongoing thing. I personally believe that it's only a small group of people that are doing these types of things, but nevertheless, it's a combination of suppressing votes and vandalism. I mean, you get the situation where, oh, well, it was just some young kids that are doing this. Well, yeah, okay, in some cases that might be so, but in others, the small group that I'm talking about, they're trying to suppress votes, and it's a little bit disgusting, because I've always felt that, the election time period is the election time period. And once it's over, the signs, come down. I know personally, I made sure my team always went out and picked up signs, although, some were missed and you get calls later on about them being missed. But as far as the damage signs goes, I really don't like the fact that, whoever's doing this is doing it, because I don't think it's right.
Did you ever get the sense, Carl, that one of your competitors was, if anything ever happened to your signs municipally? I don't know. But did you ever think, like, what was the competition like? Did you ever think one of your opponents might have been up to something?
Yeah, it crossed my mind, Mike. But then you gotta remember too. Everybody usually has a so-called team of people that help them, and it could have been somebody going offside that they shouldn't have been going offside on. And yeah, that did cross my mind, Mike. Though.
One of the reasons I like the region's new sign bylaw is because on public roads, it was almost like an arms race. And if you planted yours, you were supposed to be a certain distance from the next sign, but you could obscure their sign by strategically placing yours. And it just got into a whole bunch of nonsense. Anyway, Philip Molto. Sorry, go ahead, Carl.
Well, I was just going to mention, Mike, I noticed here in Cambridge there's quite a bit of bracketing going on. That's called bracketing when you do that type of thing.
Interesting.
Signs too close.
Interesting. Yeah. Phil Molto, you also have run in the past as a candidate in Kitchener's Ward 9. What do you make of the signs that have been damaged, defaced?
Well, it's interesting because in a municipal election, you have no party, there's no party sticker, but they still get vandalized. And I agree 100% with the bylaw for signs, because those are coming out of your pocket, or the people who are supporting you. Those are $5, $10, $50 signs plus time to get the work, and somebody just destroys it. So I don't know if that's an attack on the individual candidate, but I know back then in 2018 there would be an entire street where they'd all been vandalized. You don't know if it's somebody who's got an anger at the world or just hates election signs. But I really like this whole policy of no election signs on public property, because I was in Guelph this week, and you just drive in and they're just everywhere, every intersection, every boulevard. So that whole argument is gone. As far as people going after certain parties or candidates, to me it's just wrong. This is democracy. Everybody should be able to put the sign on the front lawn and not have it vandalized. If you don't support the party, don't go smashing somebody else's signs. Is it just random? I don't know. But when one candidate is really targeted, and it's just wrong. It defies democracy, freedom of speech, everything. It's just wrong in everything that goes into a free country.
I get the sense that with the increasing levels of polarization we're seeing, that you're sticking your neck out a little bit in some cases, putting a sign on your lawn. We have a policy in the Farwell household that there aren't any signs because I'm in the media and I don't want to give any illusion of bias in that way. But anyway, Philip Mills, what do you make of this?
I think it is an outpouring, kind of like you alluded to there. Like, this is the polarization. Everything is amped up and ramped up, and things are, big. And that stuff is on all sides. It's not as though our actual politicians aren't, pressing some of those buttons and talking about the everything and, catastrophizing the reality of, and, this is the end of Canada as we know it, or the beginning of Canada as it ever been, or like whatever this is framed persistently as a massive, massive thing. And it is. An election is big. But you're going to frame it that way and talk about how, this is something that monumentous or and not something that happens every 4 years, but like this might be the last, like all that kind of rhetoric, it's going to get people agitated. And we've just seen that sort of temperature rising over the years. And so the idea that you see more and more vandalism when you've been told the stakes are as high as they've been, folks have been alluding to, I can see why people act that way. Like, you kind of get like, this isn't, picking from a bunch of good options. This is the fate of our country and we have amped this up in a way that is going to drive people to make what I think are really terrible choices. But it's not surprising that that's happening, considering the way we talk about politics now.
That's a good point. Phil Molto.
Interesting off what Phil said, that I remember years ago when you talk about American politics, and people say, so what are you? Are you a Republican or a Democrat? And we said, we don't have that in Canada. It's like, I may have voted this way. I voted for Stephen Lewis. I voted for Paul Martin. That's who we voted for. We never identified ourselves as, my personal identity is I'm a conservative, I'm a liberal, I'm an NDP, I'm in another party. I'm a Green, I'm in PPC. So this is the first time that people in Canada, I think, have really given themselves identity attached to a political alliance. And so with signs, people look, a red sign. I know what you're all about, a blue sign. I know what you're green or red. It's now an identity attached to that. So I think some people may be hesitant about putting signs out. If they're getting attacked on their lawn, which neighbor was it? Who was it? Like, it's the first time our identity has been held to a political following, even if it's just a one-time vote for that candidate or that party. Now we're getting labeled with a Republican Democrat type American style.
Carl, quickly again, as we wrap up, just to lean on your experience, do signs move the needle for a candidate?
There's been a lot of talk about that over the years, Mike, and some people say, well, there's a ton of signs out there for this one candidate. No, it looks like he or she is going to win. I personally would think that's not the case myself. And having gone through the experience, where my opposition had a lot of signs, I had a lot of signs, and still I was able to get through a few of those elections. Yeah, it's one of those things, Mike, to each his own.
To each his own. Carl Kiefer, Phil Molto, and Philip Mills. Sorry, Phil, I got to run because I got to get to the news update. This is the Friday 4 Roundtable on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. We've done a dive into the federal election. Don't forget to vote on Monday if you didn't vote at the advance polls. We have some local issues, including closed-circuit television cameras that police want to use to keep an eye on you and clearing an encampment at Weber and Victoria. Those conversations coming up with our Friday 4 Roundtable here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. If you think that sounds a little like Eddie Vedder, you'd be right. Little Pearl Jam for Steve and Do the Evolution. It's an all-request Friday here on the Mike Farwell Show. And Fridays between 11 and noon also mean our Friday 4 Roundtable, joined around that virtual table this morning by Philip Molto, who had a 3-decade career in local media, Philip Mills, CEO of Habitat for Humanity Waterloo Region, and Carl Kiefer, a former councillor at both the region and municipally for the city of Cambridge. Philip Molto, I'll start with you on this one. It is the big story in our community in the past week, and dare I say it's a similar story playing out in communities across this country. What do we do with an encampment at the corner of Weber and Victoria? The region has a new bylaw, says you got to be out by the end of the year.
I think what said it for me when I looked at the news was that it took 5 hours of conversation and debate. And as Phil and Carl will both are tuned into this. You got the 2-tier government. We got different versions. We got so many delegates wanting to talk about this. There's the reality. There's the left and right polarization of what do we do? What don't we do? What can we do? What should we do? What should have been done 10 years ago? The 5 hours just speaks volumes of how complex this is. It's just not a simple meeting at council where you sit and 15 minutes later they've all in favor, yay. It's so complex. There's so much humanitarian, there's so much compassion, there's so much dollars and cents, and then the moving on, as I heard you the other day talk about it, just to move forward with anything at a 2-tier government is so complicated. Who's in charge of this street and that street? Who's got jurisdiction? What about other people? Councillors who aren't part of that are asked about their opinions. 5 hours to me just spoke volumes of how complicated this issue is. It's not a 3-line solution.
Philip Mills, you are closely associated with this. You're at a different part of the spectrum, of course, on that housing continuum we talk about with Habitat for Humanity Waterloo Region. But how do we move forward with a central transit hub in Kitchener and respect the rights of people who are calling that street corner home?
I think in the end, it comes down to options. And are they real options? Are we giving people and are people presented with real options? I think that, it can't be, you can't stay here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here sort of idea. Like, I don't care where you go. Like, no, that matters. We have to treat people with dignity, and they are owed that. And they, that is part of, I think their right as a person to be treated with dignity. And housing is a right. And we need to make sure that people have housing. And so what are our options? Are we giving real options? And because I think it's fair to say this is a public space that we want to use for a public good, part of this transit. So this space is no longer reasonable and viable for housing. Okay, so what is the option that we're presenting? And it is a real option. It is an actual option. Now, I think the complicated part of this is that nobody's obligated to take those options. And what do you do when that tension comes up? If you said, look, have I given you reasonable options? Do you have agency and opportunity to make a choice that is good for you, that makes sense? Realizing that it may no longer be an option to be in this exact spot, but to say, and are they practical? Like, we can't say, look, you can't be in here, but don't worry, we've got a farmer's field, 13 kilometers outside of town you could be in. Well, that's not an actual option. Like, that's the type of option that I, give to my kids when I say, do you want carrots or cucumbers? You're like, well, I didn't give them an option. Or do you want to clean your room or go play outside? Like, you're trying to coerce action. You're not trying to, I don't think, I'm going to be careful. We're not trying to coerce action here. You're saying, these are the realities. There's not a lot of good choices, but we have to give actual choices to people. And I think that if we can do that well as a region, and if the cities can figure out how we give real choice and real options to people who have not been given a lot of agency and do not have a lot of choices, this can be done respectfully.
Ashley Scheidema of Waterloo Region Community Legal Services joined us this morning and talked about that very thing, Phil, and said really what the region needs to do is just find another piece then of publicly owned land and offer that as an option, because tenting still has to be an option in all of this. Carl Kiefer, what do you think?
Well, I heard Ashley this morning, Mike, and and what she had to say, and she made a lot of sense, of course. As the two Phils have just mentioned, I agree with everything they have said, but I want to tell you that this is such a complex and serious problem, and there's no quick solution. I mean, I guess I could simplify it, Mike, having been involved at one point myself. What's needed here is funding from the province and the feds. There's a lot of money here that needs to be put into this, and how do you do once you get that money, or if you get that money, how do you temporarily move these folks from that Victoria Street location to somewhere half decent, and that's not an easy matter either. I think the word collaboration comes up, and to collaborate on such a serious an issue like this or problem like this is not easy. And if you don't have the wherewithal to do it, how are you going to do it? I mean, my concern is that the provincial government has talked about some long-term solutions here, eliminating consumption sites and putting up these hub facilities, with surround services. And I mean, that's all well and done and said, and I agree with it. But what I don't agree with is the time frame that it's going to take to do these things. And in the meantime, what happens to the folks that are in the Victoria Street situation or throughout the region, the other areas? So it's I wish I had a solution, Mike, and I'm sure the two Phils do too. But at this point, I unless the money comes in and to do these things. And the other thing that is interesting is that the region is looking at further legal guidance, I guess, if you want to call it that, to see if in fact this bylaw that they've just passed can even be put into effect. So I was what was the word I'm looking for? Hopeful with Joe Mancini making his comments. Joe, he's a great guy and does wonderful work, and his people do wonderful work. And he made some sense in what he was talking about in terms of, the time frame that's been allotted here and has been allotted. But hopefully we can, and I know he will help, but there's others that need to help as well. And like I said, provincial and federal money needs to happen.
And what Joe and the Working Centre are doing across the street at 97 Vic to build supportive housing is an incredible effort that's going on right now. Phil Molto.
Just one quick comment, and again, back to your, if I may paraphrase what you said a few days ago, the timing. It's been there, and then suddenly this is the red flag day. We got to clear it out. Like as other cities with encampments, we got to bring in the bulldozer and clear this out. What suddenly changed? As you said, we need that property now. It was fine until the region needed it for a project, and now we got to go and clear it out. It was fine, and then what suddenly was the timing that it now has to be dealt with today?
But this issue does have to be dealt with. Like we all recognize that. And Carl, you alluded to federal, provincial, and a lot of provincial, I think, onus has to be placed here of responsibility on the province. But money's one thing. Getting the job done, Philip Mills, I'll throw it over to you, is another. This is such a complicated issue.
It is. I think, if I might not love the trigger, like what the rationale is for addressing this, but if this creates, imminence and importance in solving the issue, because until it kind of that sort of idea, like nothing matters until it comes to your door. Okay, if this is what puts it at the door, that says we now have to come to a solution that is long-term and sustainable and tenable, because we are losing more and more resources. Maybe this was a solution that worked for a period. It wasn't great, but it worked. But if that land is no longer a solution, we need to find something that is going to work and is going to work long term. Okay, I'm excited for the region and people to figure that out, because we do need something where our answer is not, or the best we can offer as a community to those who need it is, I guess there's some land where you can put a tent. Now, if that's what they choose, then people will make that choice. Like, there is this agency thing, this tension of not being paternalistic to say, hey, you get to choose what you want. But we want to make sure that people have the option to be housed safely, and housed in a way that is dignified. And I think we have to create that for them. And so how are we acting in that way as we try and figure out balancing out the tension of, transit's important, and parks and other spaces and public realm, like that stuff's important too. So you have to figure out how you balance. It should be okay, and there should be opportunity to have access and use public realm, and people should have a place to stay. And because of that, we have this tension that is going to take us years to solve.
Philip Mills, Carl Kiefer, and Philip Molto with us on the Friday 4 Roundtable this morning. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Big Brother is going to be watching you even more closely. CCTV for WRPS. It's coming up on the Mike Farwell Show on our Friday 4 Roundtable. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
I've been drifting on the sea of heartbreak, trying to get myself ashore for so long, for so long. Listening to the strangest stories, wondering where it all went wrong for so long.
Doug wanted to hear a little bit of Ian Gaume on the show this morning. Hold on by request on your All Request Friday. Fridays also mean the Friday 4 Roundtable. With us this morning, Philip Mills, Carl Kiefer, and Philip Molto. And yes, Philip Molto is still representing the Toronto Maple Leafs with his jersey today. It looks even better when you're up 3-0 in a series, doesn't it, Phil?
Oh, you're so confident. You're calm. And there's no room on the wagon. It's just overflowing with people.
Absolutely. We invite 3 guests plus yours truly to make 4 people, 4 topics. And the fourth of our topics today is the increased use of surveillance cameras, closed circuit television cameras being placed in crime hotspots as part of crime suppression efforts on the part of regional police. Philip Mills, I'll start with you on this one. How do you feel about the increased electronic surveillance?
Not that bothered by it. And maybe this is like an age thing. I'm a touch younger than my, contemporaries here on this meeting, but it's not that big a deal. I think everybody carries a camera all the time. So the idea that the police have a camera to be helping with serious crimes, I assume as I'm walking down, there's, an influencer here or a person recording their kids. Cameras are ubiquitous. So I'm not that worried about it, to be honest.
That's a really interesting point on the ubiquitous nature of those cameras. And I agree. I mean, they are everywhere. I actually try not to think about it a whole lot because it unnerves me a little bit to know how many times I get caught on a camera walking on any given street into any given store. But Carl Kiefer, I'll swing it over to you for thoughts on this.
Well, Mike, the old saying goes, picture is worth 1,000 words. I think that if anything that can help the police with robberies or gang violence or even break and enters type thing, is a good thing. So, like Philip Mills says, I don't have too much of a problem with it. I was on the police services board, as you know, for a while, and it came up in terms of cameras for the police officers are wearing or going to wear, and I thought that was a good thing too. There are a lot of people that disagree with it, but I think there's more that are in agreement with it. So I think the fact that I think the province said correct me if I'm wrong here, they put $100,000 into the police coffers for it. So that's a good thing, in terms of that it doesn't always come down to the local people although it's our money too at the 100,000. But I think for sure that going into hotspots is a good idea. As I understand it, Mike, I think it's all, the process is to go in like over a certain time frame of how they were going to do this or where they're going to do it. And so I'll be interested to see if in fact it is a good thing.
I can hear already, though, Carl, and your experience on the Police Services Board, I think we can lean on a little bit here, because I can hear already people saying those hotspots, you are surveilling certain communities, neighborhoods in our community, and that's unfair because of the ethnicity in that community, something about it. But now you're singling out certain neighborhoods, even if data supports the rate of crime, right? It reminds me a little bit of carding, except with cameras.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike. That's for sure. That's going to happen.
Yeah, I can hear that argument coming already. Phil Molto, what do you think?
We live in a world of don't do stupid stuff because everybody's got a camera, from police to transport trucks to overhead. Even bicycles got them front and back. So don't do stupid things. I also think back, if you remember, like 25 years ago, Carl, remember the Block That Rocks, downtown Kitchener. There was no closed circuit cameras to monitor what was going on. But then you go to the other extreme. Real thieves don't care. How many people have we seen like break-ins at car dealerships, construction sites? They look right at the camera. What are you going to do to me? There's no fear there. They'll take the truck, the trailer, all the equipment. They'll take wire. There's no fear there of cameras. So the real criminal doesn't care. For most people, it's like, yeah, I better not run that red light. I better not do this. I better not, kick that person's mirror because they cut me off. You don't do it because there's always a camera somewhere that's recording it. Even cars now have several cameras recording all on the side. So if you vandalize a car, they've got you. So don't do stupid stuff. And if you're, and for brazen criminals, they're not going to care.
To get back to the original point made by Philip Mills, like cameras are ubiquitous anyway. I guess I could play devil's advocate and say, at least police are telling us they're going to use these, because I'll bet you the average person has zero idea of how many times they're picked up on a surveillance camera every day.
Or that they have the opportunity. Like if somebody's going to have cameras and somebody's going to have, content, I kind of want it to be the police. Like I would like to be able to say, hey, something bad happened, and them to say, like, we don't have anything to go on. Okay, like have something to go on. And so the idea, like this is not like they're sticking cameras inside my house, which some people do of their own accord anyway. Like people have got cameras inside their house connected to a, Wi-Fi enabled, thermostat that they can, if people are choosing to trust that some giant tech conglomerate is going to be really good with their content and really safe with that stuff. The idea of the police having some cameras outside to see what's happening in the public, like I think we crossed that threshold around the personal and private safety or, concerns around privacy. Like, generations ago on the technology, we're allowing to have access everywhere. So I'm good with them having this because most of us have created this for ourselves anyway. And if we don't like that, like we got a whole lot of other things to roll back, not the police's ability to do their work.
That's a great point. And on that note, we will leave things for this day. As always, gentlemen, I know I can only pay in gratitude, and I am grateful that you've given up time from your day, especially on a Friday, to join us on the Friday 4 Roundtable. I know that Carl and Phil Molto will be cheering for the Leafs again this weekend and the Rangers. Mills, I know you're with our Rangers, but I don't know what the heck you're doing with the NHL, so...
I'm not going to cheer against the Leafs. I just want better for my life to not be tied in what is functionally an abusive relationship. At this point, I'm probably going to go outside for a walk.
All right.
And Mike, can I say one thing before we go here? I want you to wish your beloved Jen Preston girl a happy birthday. And you did the right thing marrying a Preston girl.
Did I ever? They don't make them like they make them in Preston, Mr. Kiefer. Thank you for that. She's the best. Carl Kiefer, Phil Molto, and Philip Mills on our Friday 4 Roundtable this morning. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the weekend ahead. This is the Mike Farwell Show.
You guys. Yep.
570 News Radio, Rogers TV.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. Ooh.
remember when management said to me, you know, Farwell, that Rush song Working Man that you're using to start the show, it's a little heavy, do you think? And then we get all Request Fridays, and Greg wants to hear Metallica and Fuel. It makes Rush pale in comparison, doesn't it? But nonetheless, I'm here for it. We have similar tastes in our music, don't we? I like my rock, and I like it hard. All Request Friday continues into our final hour today. We've got a few more requests to get for you, and we get some calls to take from you. Free Phones Friday. We've got 60 minutes left together this week. And remember, that includes, because the Rangers are playing tonight, but there will be no Rangers Talk post-game show because we're on the road. So any chance to talk Kitchener Rangers hockey only happens in the next 60 minutes as well. They'll play on the road Friday and Sunday. You'll hear both games on 570 News Radio. But right now, to the 570 News Center we go, and then phone lines are open to hear directly from you. Free Phones Friday coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage out of sight, or you don't go out Friday night. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Every day between noon and 1, we give you the opportunity to sound off. If it's on your mind, get it off your mind and onto the show. If it's important to you, I promise you, it's important to us. Let us know about it. Let's have a conversation. We are here to listen. We'll engage. We might debate, but that's okay. We'll be civil about it. 519-570-2545. Star 570 and 1-800-570-5715. Remember, the Talkback Hour gets busy, so if you don't get through on one number, try one of the other ones. That's a little insider tip for you. But I just made it an outside tip. But try one of the other lines because they'll ring through. If you can't get through on the first line, you try. I'll get right to the phones now because we want to hear from as many of you as possible. Free Phones Friday starts with Gord. Good afternoon, Gord.
Hey, Mike. First of all, congratulations on the Rangers. This is Storm Gord.
Storm Gord admitting that the Rangers deserve a pat on the back. You're a good man, Gord.
Yeah. And you know, you and I both spoke, and we both said anybody but London.
I'm sorry to be so negative about them. They're a very tough organization to like. They really are.
Anyways, what I wanted to talk about, Mike, was the trade deficit between Canada and the United States. Trump says it's about $350 trillion. The problem is they compare apples to oranges. Okay, every American only spends about $1,800 in goods and services from Canada, if you break it all down. Every Canadian spends about $8,200 in goods and services from the United States, if you break it down by population. So how can we spend any more money?
Well, I don't know. Just ask Justin Trudeau how to spend more money. He spent.
Well, yeah, but you understand what I'm saying, though. You know, they're comparing apples to oranges. They're comparing a country of 40 million versus a country of 340 million.
Yeah, great point, Gordon. I appreciate it. And listen, 350 trillion. I thought I heard 25 billion or 250 billion. We're not getting anything that is remotely accurate in all of this. There is just a sense on the part of the U.S. president that free trade is not working well for America. And he's hell-bent on changing that. Simple as that. Gord presents a different look at the numbers. Kyle, good afternoon.
You know why I play Jock Jams? Because this is like a pep rally, my friend. We have the best fans in the league. We've got the best coaches in the league. We've got the best arena in the league. We've got the best broadcasters in the league. This is what we came here to see. Round 3, playing that team, and I will vote for it, Mike. We should make that team across the 401 the team that shall not be named on this radio station. You know why? Because we produce one of the best players in the league. And this is our game, so let's bring it back to Kitchener. Let's go, Rangers. Let's show London who The real champions are, and that is the Kitchener Rangers. Let's make it a blowout. 4 games. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Kyle. That's pretty good for a pep rally. You know, I will not make that team, the team that shall not be named, part 2, because my late great friend, Don Cameron, I was reminded once, because I used to have this saying, I'll just say it one more time to remind you of it. London sucks. I used to say that a lot. And somebody, it was all as in part of the spirit of competition, et cetera. And somebody called me or emailed me and said, would Don Cameron ever say something like that? And of course, I had to admit no. I mean, Don might not have done the other team that shall not be named. I think that's a little less harmful because, you know, we're just having some fun with that. And they're grown adults and professionals and they don't give a tinker's darn. Anyway, that hit home for me. So I stopped with the London sucks nonsense. And the honest to goodness truth is, as Gord alluded to, and I had a text from a buddy earlier today that said the same thing about the London Knights. The reality, this is honest to goodness reality. The arrogance is beyond the pale. It really is. The level of maturity is extremely low. Those are honest to goodness facts. So it makes it difficult. Like, we just left a 7-game series, a 7-game war, if you want to call it that in hockey terms, with the Windsor Spitfires. That organization, top to bottom, could not be more professional, welcoming, you name it. I don't know why it has to, well, I do know why it has to be the way it is in London, because the arrogance is beyond the pale and the maturity is absent. Simple as that. But whatever. London can do London. Kitchener will do Kitchener. And I just hope we get a great series ahead. So, Kyle, thanks for the suggestion. I won't take it on to make it another team that shall not be named. But I will also be honest with you in my dislike for the organization. And I don't really care for the city, to be honest with you. Traffic's a nightmare. The arena's hard to get to. But whatever. It is what it is. Free Phones Friday continues with Andre. Good afternoon, Andre.
Game day, baby.
Game day, baby. Playoff game day, baby.
Pumped, man.
Me too.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I got to take so many walks today with Lucy Ocas, my dog. And
I can't believe I'm going to name my next dog Sisu. Because of you,
One your dog, Ranger or something.
Oh, I had Ranger the Wonder Pup. I miss him every day. I'm wearing my Ranger socks today.
Aww.
Yeah, I got a little Ranger's face on there.
So 2 quick things, Mike, because you're busy day, busy people, busy show.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And so a good day for fine sausage and meat. I'm definitely going to have that on a fire tonight.
Andre, get the Manitoba sausage. I'm not joking about this. You will not regret it. You'll thank me for it.
Awesome.
Okay.
And then I got a question for you. 2 things. So one earlier, you guys were talking about, what is it, healthy or rusted, something like that?
Rest or rust?
Yeah, I would choose rust because if we're talking about cars, right?
No, Andre, stop it.
60 seconds. 2, Mike, I got a question for you.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
You guys mentioned about you saw Misojevic skating and he looked pretty good, right?
Walking.
Oh. Well, is he going to come back eventually?
Eventually. If the Rangers can hang on, we might see him. I don't know. But he's not. I don't think he's going to be there tonight.
But why don't we do like Dale Hunter did and just put him on skate, charge him right to the net on the air sky and let him score?
Okay.
Have a good one, Mike.
You too, Andre. I appreciate the call. The rest versus rust debate always comes out in the playoffs when a team has had a long layoff. Do you prefer the rest, or do you worry about being a little rusty when you get back on the ice? We'll find out tonight because the Knights have been resting for 8 days. Will they be rusty? The Rangers haven't had time to get rusty. They only played 48 hours ago. 72 by the time we start the game tonight-ish. It's Free Phones Friday, where we get to hear directly from you on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
You shot it out, but I can't hear a word you say. I'm talking loud, not saying much. I'm criticized, but how your bullets ricochet. Shoot me down, but I get up.
Really? Are you sure? David Guetta and Titanium. Are you sure? David Guetta's the composer. Now, see, because my ears aren't the best. A DJ. Andre wanted to hear Titanium for the Rangers tonight. Your request is Jen's command today. I got nothing to do with it. I mean, I take some of the requests via email to mike@570news.com, but we have All Request Friday, every Friday on the show. If there's a song that you would like to hear some of, we'll play it for you. When you call in, tell Jen the song you want to hear, or send me an email, and we'll get it on as many songs as we can before the day is done. It's Free Phones Friday, and Mark is with us on the line. Good afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon, Mike. More Rangers talk for you.
Okay.
Okay. London, they've been off 8 days, right?
Yes.
All they've been doing is eating pizza and playing video games.
I wish that was the case. I'm sure they're pretty disciplined, but I like what you're thinking, Mark.
And Rangers are on the hunt like a lion.
Like a lion.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, one more thing, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Is Fix going to be able to go? He always does down the hall thing. And I remember one time he got blown off by the coaching staff saying they didn't want to talk to him.
Yeah, that's because they're immature and juvenile, and they were upset. They were upset with something I said. Yes,
they're children, Mike.
Yes,
exactly.
Exactly.
So is he going to be able to do that?
Yes, he is. I'm telling you, Mark, I want this just to be a great series on the ice. It should be great for the fans. It should be great for the league. And I want no shenanigans whatsoever. I'm staying out of it. Okay.
And if you need a pair of boxing gloves, Mike, I got a pair for Dixie and Hunter.
Listen. I'm going to tell you right now, okay? And I have no shame in saying this. Bare knuckle, baby. If I need them, I'm going bare knuckle.
Okay, sounds good, Mike.
Okay, Mark. Thanks for the call, buddy. Have a great afternoon. I'm not afraid to say that. Put on a boxing glove. Why? If I need it, I got right here a couple of knuckle sandwiches. That's what I got. Grant, good afternoon. Free Phones Friday.
Especially to Mr. Landon Sims.
Grant, what is your obsession with Landon Sim?
Because he was a crybaby at that one game.
Well, I don't think he cried. I think he lost his temper in one of the most extraordinary ways I have ever seen. He was going crazy in the penalty box.
And they should have gave him a game. I would have given him a year.
Well, it's a long time ago, Grant. It's a new day.
And I like being the underdog.
I like being the underdog, too.
And
underdogs run faster.
And I think I would have given them, 5 minutes, an extra 5 minutes, and then let's get your butt out on the ice. And
who are you giving an extra 5 minutes? Oh, UC Ahokas. Yes, he said the team all year, they get to celebrate a win for 15 minutes, and they get to be upset about a loss for 15 minutes. Then it's back to work. But UC Ahokas gave the team 20 minutes this time.
And I like a couple weeks ago, you were talking about this donkey commercial, right? Remember that?
Oh, my gosh. You're all over the place, Grant. Yes, I do. The Donkey Sanctuary was very upset with a big box store because the big box store is running a commercial about doing things, quote unquote, half-assed. And there is a half of a donkey walking. Right. I mean, it's not really a half of a donkey. It's just, CGI. But yes, there's a half of a donkey walking through the commercial, and the Donkey Sanctuary was very upset by it.
And you were saying, really, a donkey can understand what the heck is going on?
No, actually, it can't. The donkey cannot understand.
Right. I know.
Donkeys don't watch TV. And if you let your donkey watch TV, you're a bad parent. Less screen time for the donkeys, okay?
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with these people.
Well, they just love donkeys. It's okay to love donkeys, but just don't. This is ridiculous. All right, Grant. I appreciate that. You're bouncing all over the place. That reminds me, though. I was getting a lift from my beloved to pick up my bike yesterday. Oh, have you been to Zdeno's lately? They got a real cool setup in there with a nice little coffee shop snack bar in the store. That's going to be a nice little gathering, but you should check it out. I dig what they're doing. So I got my bike out of storage. A beautiful day. I took the long way home, obviously. We're listening to the afternoon news with Paul McPhee and Aaron Anderson. Do you hear this Australian couple, these twins? And when they answer questions in interviews, they talk like in sync. Like, no, not the band. Like they say the same thing. It's like listening to them in stereo. They give the exact same answers. There's a solution to this, much like the donkey sanctuary needs to lay off the commercial. I was less impressed with the story. My beloved said these two Australian women have become internet sensations. We have a problem here. I'll tell you what it is coming up as we continue Free Phones Friday on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
I'm gonna win you. I'm gonna get you one way or another. I'm gonna see you. I wanna meet you one day, maybe next week.
My buddy Kelly, he knows what's what, and he wanted to hear Blondie's One Way or Another on this All Request Friday here on the program. Kelly says that'll set up tonight's Rangers-Knights game, and it also honors Clem Burke, Blondie's drummer, who passed away last week. Kelly, attaboy, you've always had good taste. Appreciate your request here on All Request Friday, which also happens to be Free Phones Friday. Open lines to hear from you during the final hour of our show, of our week. I mentioned before the break the identical twins in Australia who were interviewed by the media. This happens. About an alleged crime. And what happened as the interview was being conducted is that these women spoke in unison. They were saying the same thing at the same time. It was like hearing an echo immediately. Two people talking, saying the exact same thing. That's what these identical twins do. So then this becomes a viral moment, and they show up on other shows who want to talk to the twins who speak in unison. And what do? They speak in unison. I get the viral moment. The first reporter that's there asks about this crime that may have happened in the community. You get these women speaking in unison. But then you put them on another show, and what, you expect a different result? Like, is this the circus? Is that what we've gone back to? Are these the bearded ladies now? Like, we're just going to make a spectacle of them? There's a way. Like, okay, the internet had its viral moment. We don't have to bring them on some, lighthearted daytime morning show because they speak in unison. Or how about this? Interview one of them. Just bring one person on your morning show. What are we doing to these poor girls? Honestly, it felt like the circus. We don't go to circuses anymore, do we? We have people, the bearded lady and all the other things, the people with two heads. I don't know what goes on at a circus, but this sounds like a circus. Don't make a circus of the poor Australian twins. You can interview one of them, you know. Wanted to hear some Van Halen on this All Request Friday on the program. Jake's email also said, woohoo, Leafs in 4, baby. Okay, they got 3 of them. They still have to get the next one. Your requests. We play a small part of the song that you would like to hear every Friday on the show. As many songs as we can fit into a talk show, don't you know? As we continue with Free Phones Friday, Greg on the line with us. Afternoon, Greg.
Hey, you like that fuel or what?
I loved that fuel. Great choice today.
I was thinking that, if it's anybody like me, I'm fading by this time after a long, hard day or week of work. It's like, all right, pump you up to get you through the rest of the Friday. And Oh, hopefully that did for some. That's a good wake-up song.
Metallica. Loved it.
Yeah, that's my favorite by them. So actually, I requested it 2 weeks ago, not knowing that, or forgetting that last Friday there was no show. So I got my
That's all right.
just in time to hear it, thinking, okay, it's probably going to carry over, which was great. I heard it, got in time, and then I thought, okay, I better come up with something to say now. And I thought, okay, let's think back to that best decade thing from the other day.
Yeah.
Basically, everything about the 80s that was said, I agree with it all. And, just like, well, not just the music, but that's a big thing. And then after just trying to sort of, like, think about it a bit more, it's like, okay, that was, in my, teens, 20s. And it's just that the older you get, the more you have on your plate to worry about. Back then, yeah, you were using the word carefree, but, like, back then it was more just like, okay, pass your course in school, think about what you want to do. Whereas the world today, it's like, wow, there's like 10 times the amount of things on a daily basis that just you're bombarded with and have to do something with, whether you got the answer or not. It's just, my head can spin some days. And I think back to then, it's like, yeah, like, okay, it's like, I got time. I'll worry about that later kind of thing. But no, there's just so many immediate, things that need attention today. And the days run out. It's like, okay, maybe tomorrow. So.
I hear you, Greg. I hear you. Maybe tomorrow. But that's the thing, right? The older you get, it's like a trap. Growing up, becoming an adult, all that responsibility, who needs it? Dan is with us on Free Phones Friday. Afternoon, Dan.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. And you?
Good, thanks. You must get tired of answering that question. I wasn't going to ask it. But
that's all right. That's all right.
I'm actually a second-time caller. I called once before and told you the monkey joke, but I don't know if you remember that or not.
Well, now that you bring it up, I do, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, I just had to call to comment on the twins from Australia.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you don't want them to be exploited, but I actually seen them on some kind of show about elderly twins that are single and aren't married. And anyway, they were on.
No, wait, hang on a second. You already lost me because twins. How can a twin be a single?
No, single meaning not married.
I know. I was just Dan. I was playing with you a little bit there.
You got me.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, they're not being exploited, Mike. It's their favorite thing to do, to be on camera, on radio. They run a bird sanctuary. They live with their mom. They tend to injured birds and release them back into the wild. And they love nothing better than to be together and to do this little thing where they both talk. And you can tell they practice it. They're looking at each other the whole time, and they're waiting for the other one to start the sentence because I'm telling you.
But Dan, we don't have to play into it then, right? You had your 15 minutes. Let's move on.
I agree. I just wanted to comment on the exploitation.
Fair.
They're not being exploited. Believe me, they love it.
We're being played then is what you're telling me.
Exactly. But anyway, enjoy your weekend. Go Leafs, go Rangers.
I love it, Dan. Thank you very much. Go Rangers, go Leafs. Game day, baby. Game day. Avery, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Hey, I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit. Obviously, Kitchener won that series against Windsor. And I don't know if you've talked about this on your show before, but obviously Windsor had home ice advantage, but Kitchener drafted after them in the draft.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, how is that fair? I wouldn't change the result because obviously Kitchener came on top, but I'm just curious as to how the league has that where Windsor has home ice advantage, but still drafts before the Rangers.
Yeah, and Kitchener came out on top in the playoff series, Avery. You're absolutely right, but they still got the lower draft pick, which didn't change. Windsor still got, so really what I believe this is a little flaw that the Ontario Hockey League needs to correct. If you're going to reward the team with the higher seed because they won their division, then you can't at the same time reward them with the higher draft pick because they finished lower in the standings. Like you can't have it both ways. So I think the league needs to correct it.
The coaching staff did an excellent job of managing that Green Tree line with not having the last change, but it would have been a lot easier in Kitchener if Game 7 was in Kitchener, right?
No question. Absolutely.
So, no, I just wanted to pick your brain on that to see if you've talked about that and what your thoughts are on.
I have talked about that, and if you haven't listened before, I will shamelessly plug the OHL podcast, which is a little pet project I have. Just because I love the league so much, and that's something that we've addressed. Hopefully the league can address it too.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike, and go Rangers go.
Go Rangers go. Thanks, Avery. Great to hear from you. The big challenge for the Rangers in this series, of course, you heard Avery say, Kitchener did a great job of shutting down Liam Greentree, Ilya Protas, Noah Morneau. They're going to have their hands even fuller with the team they're about to play. Oh, hi, Sam O'Reilly. Hi, Denver Barkey. Hi, Easton Cowan. Hi, Casper Halton. And hi, Blake Montgomery. It just goes on and on. So a lot of work ahead for the Kitchener Rangers. But hey, it's a 7-game series. It starts tonight. Anything can happen, baby. Playoffs. Game day. Free Phones Friday continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Reluctantly crouched at the starting line. Engines pumping and thumping in time. The green light flashes, the flags go up. Churning and burning, they yearn for the cup. They deftly maneuver and muscle for rank. Fuel burning fast on an empty tank. Reckless and wild, they pour through the turns. Their prowess is potent and secretly stern. As they speed through the finish, the flags go down. The fans get up and they get out of town. The arena is empty, except for one man still driving and striving as fast as he can. The sun has gone down and the
do I love me some cake, and not just the kind you eat. Larry, my buddy from the Galt Minor Hockey School. Well done, sir. It's another Kitchener Rangers All Request Friday request. The Distance by Cake. If you haven't checked out Comfort Eagle, at least Short Skirt, Long Jacket by Cake, that's just a sample of it. I enjoy some cake, and Larry wanted to hear it on this All Request Friday. As we continue Free Phones Friday, go back to the phones. George, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. 2 quick things. I was going to touch on the twins from Australia, but someone already did that. It's true. They love it. They tag team together. As far as I know, I think they even married the same man.
George.
Isn't that crazy?
What are you pulling my leg for? Come on. You imagine that, though? Men, the old joke is, right? Men, they can't stand when their wives nag them. Imagine being nagged like that, George.
I don't know how long I would last.
I don't know how long I'm going to last bringing up that old stereotype. I did it just for a joke effect. Come on now.
And the other thing is, Mike, did I hear right? 14 NHLers in the London Knights?
How crazy is that? I had a scout describe that team to me earlier this season as an AHL team. That's how stacked they are.
I'm going to pull a Mark on you right here. Mark likes to ask a lot of questions. Mike, do you know if any of the 14, I'm a big Blackhawk fan, any of the 14 Blackhawk players?
Oh, that is a good one. I know Jack Pridham with our team is a Blackhawks prospect. I'm sorry, George. Off the top of my head, I can't be sure.
Okay. Maybe I'll look it up myself then.
No, you know what? I'm going to look it up for you, and I'll have it for you before the end of the hour, so don't go anywhere, okay? You can move on with your day, but stay listening, and I'll get you the answer.
Thank you so much.
Anytime, George, anytime. I should know that. I mean, listen, I'll know everything by the end of the weekend because we get 2 games with London, and I'll have all of the intimate details by then. Afif, Free Phones Friday, over to you.
Hey, good afternoon, Mike.
Good afternoon, Afif.
First thing, are we on Rogers TV still?
Yes.
Ah, nice. That's pretty awesome. But
Awesome for who? Have you seen me, Afif? I got no hair. I got fat cheeks. Like, come on.
What I meant is
I look like a chipmunk over here.
I meant for the callers.
Oh, for the callers. Do you think people like to look at me on TV and then say, hey, I'm going to call that fat, bald guy?
Yeah. No, that's not the case, man.
Okay.
But in any case, what I want to say is go Rangers, and I won't be talking to you for like a week. I'm going to Switzerland with my wife for honeymoon.
Where are you going?
Switzerland.
Switzerland?
Geneva.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Afif, you big wheel buddy, Switzerland.
Yeah, going for my wife. She always wanted to go to Switzerland for a skiing trip.
Yeah.
She's like, I really want to go for skiing, and that's my like big thing. Like after our wedding, I'm like, we gotta go. So now we're going. So for a week, I won't see you, but I will be listening to Kitchen Rangers or internet.
Okay, I love it because Paul Fixter and I always check in with our long-distance listeners, so make sure you let us know when you're in Switzerland listening to the game, okay?
Absolutely, man. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thanks, Afif. You too. Enjoy that trip. Oh, I hope my beloved's not listening. It's her birthday, and she's like, Afif's taking his wife to Switzerland. What do I get? Huh? Exactly. Listen, love, if you won on that lottery ticket I left you with your cup of coffee this morning, maybe that will get us to Switzerland. I work in radio. I can't afford no trips to Switzerland. Sticking with the Kitchener Rangers theme for just a moment, there is a fan bus going from here to there on Sunday. And instead of dealing with the traffic yourself, what a great way to do it with our friends over at Great Canadian Coaches. So if you want to go to the game on Sunday in London and not have to worry about the driving, the parking, and all of the other nonsense, you'll only be exposed to the nonsense in the arena. You never know what's going to happen in that building. But Great Canadian is sending a fan bus to the game on Sunday. So check out greatcanadianholidays.com. And you can find the fan bus right there and join us in London for Game 2 on Sunday. Also, make note, Sunday's game is a 4 p.m. start. Not 7, not 2, 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon in London. So check out greatcanadianholidays.com. Let's fill that fan bus and send as many rabid, noisy, loud Rangers fans, not obnoxious. I did not say obnoxious. I want you to be loud. I want you to be rowdy. I want you to go and support your team. That's it. And get on that Great Canadian coach and take the fan bus on Sunday. GreatCanadianHolidays.com. Free Phones Friday continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Little bit of Zeppelin to close out our All Request Friday here on the program. Marianne wanted to hear a little Kashmir, and so she gets it. Her request and yours, our command on this All Request Friday. George was asking before about those 14 NHL draft picks that the London Knights have on their roster. I mean, that's a lot of draft picks. I just counted 13, one way or t'other. There's more than a dozen. And no, George, none of them are Chicago Blackhawks prospects. Couple of Ottawas in there, couple of San Jose's, St. Louis, Philadelphia, Toronto, and more. But no Chicago Blackhawks prospects on the Knights. As you know, Jack Pridham of the Kitchener Rangers, he's a dandy, and he's a prospect of the Chicago Blackhawks. All right, Free Phones Fridays continue with Ernie. Good afternoon, Ernie.
Hey, Mikey. My favorite oldest son got to stay home from school today, and he said he has a big message for Mike.
Okay.
So this is the special guest Zaner here. So Zane, you let him hear it.
Go Ravens, go Leafs, go Canada, and go Rangers.
Attaboy, Zaner. I love it. Go Leafs, go Rangers, go Canada. Ernie, well done, sir.
You missed the Go Ravens part. You did say that too.
I didn't hear that part. I honestly didn't hear that part. I don't want to hear that part. Settle down.
But anyways, Mikey, let's go. Let's go. Happy Friday.
Thanks, Ernie. You too. Ernie and I seem to agree on everything except football. Rangers, Leafs, but we cheer for competing teams in the AFC North in the National Football League. I'm a Steelers guy. He's a Ravens guy. But you know what? As Meatloaf once famously said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So I'll take Ernie's fandom of the Leafs and the Rangers and focus on that. How you feeling, Rangers Nation? This is a big one. The Kitchener Rangers, let this sink in for a moment, have not been this far in the playoffs since 2018. In 2018, the Rangers went to Game 7, double overtime against the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, and the Greyhounds won. Can that change this year? Listen, I have watched this team since the end of September. I have gotten to know these young men and this group of coaches better and better as the season went on. I do not doubt anything that this team is capable of. So, given how strong London is, would I be surprised if the Rangers can pull it off? Yes. Will I be shocked? Nope. Because this team has just got something in the water here in Kitchener, the frozen water, as we head to London and Canada Life Place for Game 1 of this Western Conference Final, third round of the playoffs tonight. Paul Fixter and I will be right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey, 570 News Radio, with Harris Law pregame show coverage getting underway at 6:30. I know you're going to join us for that. We're going to have a lot of fun together over the next many days with this playoff series. Rob Snow and Now You Know standing by to take you through until 3 this afternoon. Then Paul McPhee, Aaron Anderson have all news afternoons. Thanks to Jen, who's our board operator today. My name is Mike Farwell. Bye for now.